It's another night here in the X Zone, and I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to send us an email, it's very simple, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. To find out about the broadcast schedule that we have available for you, 7/24/365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And for all of the programming on the X Zone TV channel, simply go to simultv.com. Before we get to my first guest tonight, I'd like to say hello to a good friend of mine who is in the hospital awaiting a triple bypass heart surgery. Marty McLean was the very first person who worked with us on the X Chronicles newspaper going back 30 years ago yesterday. Not only is Marty a great friend, I've known Marty all these years, but he is, he's just a great guy, and he has to be the first member of the X Zone Nation. Marty and I did a number of symposiums together, exhibitions together when the X Chronicles was getting on, and Marty was always around when needed, whether it was for the X Chronicles newspaper, the X Zone radio show, or the X Zone TV show. He had a heart attack. The doctors found out that he had to have triple bypass surgery. He is in a Hamilton hospital, and our thoughts and best wishes go to Marty for a speedy recovery, and our love goes to his wife Kirby, his daughter Sarah, and his mother Mary. Marty, get well soon, pal. We have to get things going over here. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is M.K.Davis. Now, anyone who knows anything about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call this biped giant of the forest who is very elusive knows the name M.K.Davis. He developed an interest in the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film while pursuing astrophotography. Now, astrophotography is the discipline of taking space photographs through a telescope. And MK owns two large telescopes that are outfitted for space photography. And let's get to MK. And first of all, MK, thanks very much for joining us tonight. Always a great pleasure talking to you. And what was it about the Patterson-Gimlin film that got you interested in Bigfoot?
Well, I always tell people that I kind of backed into it, and it's sort of that way.
Right.
I saw a couple of frames from the film that were of such quality that it's rather astounding, and someone had filtered one of them, trying to boost the contrast, and I recognized what had been done because of my experience with astrophotography. So I began an inquiry. You can't get a good frame like that from a bad film that's fundamentally bad. So I knew there had to be a better version of the film out there somewhere, and I began an inquiry, and that inquiry has lasted until today, 25 plus years. And I've got some of the best images there are, and I was right on that. There were better versions of it, and when you get back for the master copy, the film is truly astounding. And I was able to put together, a filtered, stabilized version of the film. And 2 a.m. when I hit preview, my own jaw dropped at the quality of the film and what it showed on the film. And so the film's doing the talking, and that's what I endeavored to set out to do, and that's kind of what's happening.
So let me ask you this, MK. In your opinion, is Bigfoot real?
Well, there was at least one in 1967. There's other good films out there too. Just logic tells you that there must be more of them. So along the Bluff Creek area, it's still a very good place to go looking. So yes, I'll have to answer that categorically that they are real.
All right, so based on your first answer, would it be safe to assume that you believe that the Patterson Bigfoot film is authentic?
Yes, yeah, it's authentic. There's enough on it that you can say that the biomechanics agree with everyday life, and that it is an authentic film of something with all the correct biomechanics.
In your opinion, MK, how come there hasn't been any other film or video of the same quality as the Patterson-Gimlin film, taking into account the number of cell phones there are with high-definition video capabilities?
Well, there's not many cell phones in Bluff Creek.
All right, but there are in other parts of the world where Bigfoot has been reported to be seen.
Well, there's a lot of blurry pictures, a lot of blurry cell phone video.
Right.
But as far as what happened at Bluff Creek, being it's a remote place, and Bigfoot tends to hang out at remote places. So as to whether they're all out there claiming to be Bigfoot or actually Bigfoot, probably not. So we live in a mass media world.
Yes.
Where things, you can take a picture and it'll be on the internet and be viral in 24 hours. So a lot of block squatches, blurry pictures, misidentifications, things like that. The actual footage of the quality of the Patterson film are really rare.
Have you seen?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Have you seen other film or video that parallels the Patterson film?
I don't know that it parallels it, but there's number one, and then there's number two and number three. The Paul Freeman footage is probably going to be number two. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was taken by a forestry employee named Paul Freeman near Walla Walla, Washington, in the Blue Mountains, near a place called Deduck Springs, Mill Creek watershed. They didn't let anybody go back in there because it was a watershed, and they didn't want anybody messing up the water for the town of Walla Walla. So people were kept out. He could go in there. He took some footage that was pretty extraordinary.
Do you consider yourself to be a Bigfoot researcher?
I denied it for years, Rob. I guess I am, by definition. At some point in time, the film, once I had reached the point where I had improved the film to the point where you could make a pretty good judgment on it. And from that point on, the next question was, what is the nature of it? What am I looking at? Now that I know that it's not an authentic film. And so you began, kind of another stage of interest. So I guess at this point in time, I am a researcher, a Bigfoot researcher.
Does the questionable credibility of Patterson come into play when it comes to the fact that, yes, the film is authentic, but the Bigfoot creature may not be an actual Bigfoot?
A lot of people, the film has had its detractors ever since it was first shown. It's skepticism is kind of a funny thing because it can save you or it can condemn you. You end up you can be imprisoned by it. Patterson, once I began to clear the film and to stabilize it, there was less and less to object to. You could answer a lot of objections just using the film.
Right.
So people began to shift their skepticism over to Patterson himself. That he didn't pay his bills, he shady character, hung out with shady characters.
All right, MK, we've got to take our break. Please stand by. Exo-Nation, M.K.Davis is our special guest, and visit his blog at thedavisreport.wordpress.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. M.K.Davis is our special guest of this hour. We're talking about Bigfoot. And if you'd like to visit MK's blog, it's thedavisreport.wordpress.com. MK, before we went to the commercial break, we were just starting to talk about the credibility of Patterson, and he had quite a painted background. And how did this play into the legitimacy of Bigfoot, especially when you've got people like Bob Hieronymus coming forward and saying, hey, it was a fake. There was no Bigfoot. I was the guy inside of that Bigfoot costume. How does this play into the entire scenario?
Well, I mean, if you look at, it's a double-edged sword, skepticism is.
Yeah.
If you say, well, Roger Patterson was a shady character who didn't pay his bills, and that's been, he ripped the camera people off. He ripped this person, and you're saying that same person who didn't have the money to pay his bills pulled off one of the biggest hoaxes of the century with the most realistic-looking suit that not even Hollywood could make. They counter one another. It's just not possible. It doesn't really matter when a film gets, when I've improved this film and to the point where it vouches for itself. It doesn't need Roger Patterson, and it doesn't need Bob Gimlin. It doesn't need M.K.Davis.
What does it need?
Go ahead.
What does it need then?
It just needs someone to look at it in its best form. And then you can make a pretty good judgment based upon what you know about living. When you see muscles flex, when you see the muscles along the back, the clavicle and the right shoulder move, you see the buttocks and you see the two glutes and they move independent of one another. You see the muscles flex in the calves. Those are biomechanics. We see those things every day in our lives. We recognize them, and so it really doesn't matter a whole lot about whether you Roger Patterson paid his bills, whatever.
But doesn't that play into the credibility of the entire event?
What's that?
Credibility. If somebody doesn't pay their bills, if somebody doesn't pay their taxes, if somebody has the reputation of being a storyteller, if somebody has the reputation of exaggerating things, and then all of a sudden this film of an alleged Bigfoot is taken by that very same person, in my opinion, it certainly puts a spotlight on the credibility of the person who's taking that film. And
I don't know that Roger Patterson had those problems. I know that he had some problems with his money, but I don't. As far as telling stories, I don't know that he had those. He was 8 years into his investigation, so this thing came along after 8 years. So, if he were just telling wild stories for that whole 8 years, maybe I could understand that. But I've seen his research, and I've seen actual pages out of his notebook, and they were just notations. They weren't claims.
But
He took that.
I'm sorry,
He took depositions.
over the years, many people have been taken in by claims of discoveries. For example, the Mitchell Hedges skull hoax. Anna Mitchell Hedges for years, swore that her father found it in Louboutin, and the story goes on. And then we find out that there is a number of parallels between Mitchell Hedges and his reputation and the reputation of Patterson. So how can we actually tell for sure that Patterson, and prior to, let me ask you this, MK, prior to the Patterson-Gimlin film, did anybody ever hear of the research that was being done by this Bigfoot researcher who had been apparently out there researching the Bigfoot for 8 years before coming across its path and taking the film?
You're asking me if anybody had heard of him?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He had a newsletter that he sent out.
Mm-hmm.
I run across people here in the Deep South that had those newsletters from way back when. For those people who were interested, we didn't have the internet or anything like that. So it didn't travel fast, but it was mailed, snail mail. And he had quite a few people that knew of him and knew of his efforts. And he was known up and down, through the Pacific Northwest, especially for his attempts to find Bigfoot. He wrote a book called I've got a copy of it right here. It says, "Does the Abominable Snowman of America really exist?"
Mm-hmm.
And it enjoyed quite a circulation. He was an author.
Right.
And so, yes, the answer is yes. People did know of his efforts, but he made no claims toward that he had found a Bigfoot, or it was all about his efforts to find one.
Gotcha. Now, in 1967, how much airplay or how much media attention did his film receive once it was released?
Well, I don't know what you would call released. It was shown live at the Museum of British Columbia, I believe it was, and it got mixed reviews. The reason why it got mixed reviews, in my opinion, is because they just didn't clean the film up or do anything to make it more stable. They just showed the raw film.
Right.
And it's hard to tell when it's shaking around violently all over the screen, what you're looking at. So people watched it a time or two, and they really didn't know. Some people dismissed it. Some people thought it was the greatest thing. But most were kind of in between, kind of mixed reviews. But he took it on the road to live showings of it. He rented auditoriums, and he would show it, and he was getting a little bit of income from that. People had to buy tickets to get in there, and then you could donate if you wanted to.
So this was his way of making a living, was by going to location and showing his film.
I don't know how. He was making his living mostly by being an inventor.
Oh, really?
Plus he had some financial backing, but he invented several things. He invented a shaker that shook fruit out of trees. The orchards up there in Washington State.
Right.
Got a patent on it. Did pretty good with that. Nowadays, skeptics portray him as a complete and total bum, but he was anything but that. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and you leave your own tracks in the world. and that's the direction that he went. That he had a very inventive type of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and when he saw a need, he'd try to fill it and get a patent on it. I interviewed Al Hodgson in Willow Creek, and he told me that Roger Patterson, at the time he met Roger Patterson, he had gotten a toy patent for kids. So, he had money coming in, and then he had some financial backers, too, as well. So I've got pictures of Roger. He had what you call cutting-edge ATV equipment, with tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the equivalent of a side-by-side now. He had a big truck full of equipment, listening equipment, that type of thing. So, I talked to the guy whose dad rented him cameras up there in a photo house in Yakima, Washington. And he told me that Roger, his dad had rented Roger on the same day 2 cameras, not just one. One of them was a Bolex, and the other was a Kodak K100.
All right, stand by, MK. You and I have to come back after this news break. And ExoNation, our guest this hour is M.K.Davis. His website is thedavisreport.wordpress.com. Bigfoot is the topic this hour. Are you a skeptic or are you a believer? Send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And for all the programming that we have available for you, 724-365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And for the X Zone TV channel on SimulTV, simultv.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. M.K. Davis and I return after the news. Don't go away. M.K. Davis is my guest this hour, ExoNation. His blog site is thedavisreport.wordpress.com. And he also has a YouTube channel that is Greenwave 2010 FB. MK, can you take us through the process in which you were able to enhance the shaky footage that was taken by Gimlin and Patterson?
Well, yeah, the first thing I had to do was to identify the problems with them, technical problems. And almost any lens of any type, it's going to have certain things that are inherently wrong with the lens, and you don't really notice them, except that when you magnify its flaws, and then it becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. And so identifying those things was the first order of business. And so what I found to be the most distracting or the most damaging to the clarity of the film was chromatic aberration.
Now,
chromatic aberration is it doesn't bring all the colors of the spectrum to one single point of focus. Mm-hmm. In other words, some of them are sharp and some of them are unfocused.
Right.
And so the unfocused ones detract from the overall quality of the picture. So I was able to make a determination of which one of those colors were the detractors, and then I separated them out through filtration.
So would that be the same process that we use in video when we change the brightness, contrast, gamma, and hue, as well as the saturation of the footage?
No. That when you do those things, You do it to all the colors.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was to eliminate those who were contributing to the overall unsharpness of the image.
Okay, now did you take the 16 millimeter footage and convert it to video, or how did you do the process itself?
I had someone who had a copy of the film photograph each frame.
Wow.
And send me each frame individually, and I reprocessed each frame and got rid of the chromatic aberration, and I boosted the sharpness of each frame probably 30%.
Now, did you do this using a digital process, or was this using the analog process?
I used the digital process on it.
Okay.
Well, it's essentially the same thing. It splits it off. And you'll get all the information in the photo that's in yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. And I found the colors that were unsharp. I just deleted them. I reassembled the frames, stabilized them, and hit the preview button at 2 in the morning. And the rest is history. It's just so unbelievably clear. It caught me by surprise at how good it was.
I hope you don't take what I'm going to say the wrong way, but is it possible that you added to the film by using this process, thereby making it look more real than it is?
No, I actually took away from the film. I didn't add it.
Okay, so
you remove the fuzzy colors, you're taking away. You're subtracting, not adding. It left the sharper layers behind, and I displayed them in black and white. So all I did was take the unsharp layers of color that were not properly focused by the lens and remove them. It's a process that's used every day in astrophotography. They do that all the time. It sharpens the image up. And as a rule in astrophotography, that if you can boost it 1% in resolution, you'll see 10 new things, and it pretty much holds true.
Okay, so you did this frame by frame, and how many frames did you do?
I only did the first 2 walk sequences, which is over 500 frames.
And how long did it take you in total to complete the process?
Quite a while. I don't know the exact amount of time, but it was, I worked doggedly at it. Most of my work was at night where I wouldn't bother anyone. And when I ended up watching it for the first time, it was like in the wee hours, it's just me sitting alone at the computer, and I was just floored by how good it was because I had stabilized it, and I don't think the film had ever been stabilized up to that point. And when you talk about stabilization, which is half the ballgame, I mean, you don't have to follow the thing all over the screen. So, you bring it to center and hold it dead still, and it's like the camera is following it. And so that takes a load because your mind can't hardly process movement in more than one plane at a time. So you've got a movement in all types of planes of movement. Well, then you tend to just kind of blank out. You can't analyze with your mind if you're seeing all that movement. The background's moving, the creature's moving against the background, and the camera person is moving left to right. All of that has to be brought to center, and then you can tell a lot more about it.
So you completed this film. I'm sure everyone who is interested in Bigfoot has seen it. And have you gone on any Bigfoot research expeditions yourself?
I have. I have been to Bluff Creek
Mm-hmm.
probably 15 times. I was there last July, as a matter of fact.
And why do you keep going back to Bluff Creek?
It's a good place to go. You find a lot of sign down there.
Now, what kind of signs do you find?
In 2015, I took some Japanese filmmakers
Mm-hmm.
in there, and there was a series of tracks. It must have been about 15 of them going across the sandbar, and I could not put a dent in that sandbar, and these tracks were 4 inches deep, and it took tremendous weight to do that. It's less size and more weight
Mm-hmm.
about a Sasquatch that impresses me. They're so heavy. And we shot a reenactment of the Patterson film
Mm-hmm.
as best we could. They wanted to do that. I played the part of the Bigfoot. I didn't dress in a suit or anything. I just walked. I was real familiar with the film, so I was aware that she looked back at the camera
Mm-hmm.
and took 4 steps before she looked back at the ground in front of her. And so I did that. I tried to make it as accurate as possible. So I was able to use that to run a side-by-side of me with the actual film and make some determinations on the film speed.
Now, do a lot of researchers who are interested in Bigfoots or Sasquatch, do a lot of these people go to Bluff Creek? And would you say that Bluff Creek is the mecca for Bigfoot researchers?
I say there's been some people that go down there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call it a mecca because it's so difficult to get in there. But at one time you could drive in there, at least to Louse Camp.
Right.
But now the Forest Service has cut a lot of the roads, especially the spur roads, and I think they have in mind letting the area go back into a wild state. It used to be known as the primitive area when it had no roads.
Right.
And I think that they're interested in getting it declared a World Heritage Site and falling under the auspices of the United Nations. And to do that, they have to let it go completely wild. And they chisel plowed the roads and let them wash, put these giant, huge humps, that you couldn't pass. And it just makes it difficult. You have to walk in there. It's quite an effort, and there's a lot fewer people doing it. Some of the more hardier ones, or in my case, hard-headed, still go back in there. But I have a heart condition of my own, and it's
Sure.
I'm not able to go wide open. I'm 64 years old, so I kind of just take my time and just try to walk slowly. And
All right, MK, we've got to take our final break for this hour. Exonation M.K.Davis is our guest. His website, I should say his blog site, is thedavisreport.wordpress.com. And MK and I will be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Exonation M.K. Davis is our guest. His blog spot or his blog site is thedavisreport.wordpress.com, and his YouTube channel is Greenwave 2010 FB. With the fact that there are a number of people who continue to go to the area of the Patterson, Gimlin film of the Bigfoot going back to the 60s. Why would Bigfoot still stick around there if Bigfoot knows that there's going to be humans looking for him or her in that area?
Well, I didn't mean to leave the impression that it's crowded down there. It's not. It's people seldom visit it.
Oh, okay.
But they do on occasion visit it. But Bigfoot is not always there either. It has more to do with the salmon runs on the Klamath River. When the salmon runs occur, you begin to see signs. They walk down those creeks to the Klamath River to get fish, and you're more likely to encounter one during the salmon runs than any other time. So that would be twice a year.
Because during the salmon run, the salmons are also being sought for by bears as well, aren't they?
They are. The salmon's a tremendous source of protein. They walk those creeks. The Bluff Creek itself is too small to have a lot of salmon. It doesn't have salmon in it, but the Klamath River does, and the Bluff Creek runs into the Klamath. So they just kind of walk that creek, come out of the high country and walk that creek. And it'll be in October. It'll be in March. You can't get in there in March.
No way.
Because it's too much snow. You have to go into the high country and come over down into Bluff Creek, and it's just too much snow. Unless you have some kind of equipment that'll handle that, snowmobile or something. But in October, there's you can get in there then, and your odds go way up of having an encounter or seeing signs.
As a Bigfoot researcher and enthusiast, MK, why do you think that all important smoking gun has not been established? How come we haven't found a cadaver of Bigfoot that would put this, is Bigfoot real, is Bigfoot not real, to rest?
Well, I don't know that there hasn't been, Rob. You look at occasions down through the years where people have come across bones, they've come across skulls. There was a skull that some Boy Scouts were on an expedition in California, and their mule kicked up a skull out of a big old mud hole. And they call it the minaret skull. You can look it up online. It was virtually a Bigfoot skull, and they took it. I think they took it to the Smithsonian, which it promptly disappeared. But was well documented before that occurred. So down in the basements of some of these museums, there's been stuff that's been just not put on display, kept locked up, now, for whatever reason.
Is that fact, or is that a conspiracy theory?
Well, it's a fact in some. It can be proven in some cases. In other cases, it's kind of a rumor.
Right.
So it's you lay your hands on it, then you know.
Sure.
But that kind of thing does happen. I've got a photograph taken over 40 years ago of a skull that was double the size of a human skull. It had a double row of upper teeth. The bottom teeth were just a single row. And the museum where the picture was taken now denies that it ever had it. but I have the actual photo, the actual print.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it in a safe locked up.
What do you think the origin of Bigfoot is?
Oh, with the origins?
Yeah.
I have my own ideas about it, Rob. I don't know that I can prove it, but my idea about it, it's based upon my experience with the Patterson film, is
Right.
that it's some kind of a human, but not us. And the reason I say it's not us is because of the tremendous weight. When you sink up 4 inches, and the type of sand that's in Bluff Creek is shale sand. It doesn't roll out from under the foot.
Mm-hmm.
It binds. It's little platelets, and you can't hardly stomp a track in there. And you find a track that goes 4 inches deep. You know that you're dealing with something of tremendous weight, and we don't get that heavy.
Is there any hypothesis on how heavy the creature was that created this 4-inch deep imprint in this sand?
Well, that would be a lot of unknown factors in that, but the Patterson subject
Mm-hmm.
is probably hitting a half a ton. A cubic inch
Mm-hmm.
of Sasquatch flesh weighs far more than a cubic inch of Homo sapien flesh. It's the muscle fibers are far more dense. It's just very, very heavy.
But once again,
if they stepped on your foot, they would
Mm-hmm.
break it. They'd break your foot all to pieces.
but this is speculation because it's
not when you see a print that deep.
Well, I understand that, but you don't know for a fact what made that print. You don't know for a fact. You don't know for a fact that an inch of a Sasquatch skin, or as you mentioned, is heavier than a human because there is no evidence. It's all speculation.
Well, when I told you I did a side by side.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain rules of biomechanics, and it's the rules of efficiency. In other words, when you swing your arm back,
Yeah.
then you let gravity bring it back forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you have to push it back forward, then you're going to burn more calories to do that. So you have to find that spot where the arm is swinging freely back to the center. And once you find that, then you can calculate the mass by the speed. So, those things are doable, to a person who wants to do the science. Not knowing it for a fact is not accurate. That's not a fact.
Now, have members of the scientific community concurred with the belief that Sasquatch is real and that the Patterson film is legitimate and that this is a real unknown creature?
Did you say members of the Sasquatch community believe that?
No, the scientific community.
It's difficult to sway science. Admittedly, but it's kind of like a lot of other things that one generation kind of stiffens up to it. And then another generation comes, and they're a little more open to it. And then another generation comes. And until you begin to have some open minds on it, at least to the possibility, it's like a lot of things. And proof positive is I would say that it's not that unproven. There's some pretty good stuff out there.
Like what?
Like for instance, the Patterson film. That would work if you filmed a giraffe with a bent neck.
Mm-hmm.
But
we know giraffes are real, right? Everybody sees giraffes.
I'm talking about anything. If you film something never been seen before, it's the fact that the subject matter has the bar a little higher. People are a little afraid that of something out there that's not still living. They don't have any problem with you pulling bones out of the ground and declaring it to be home of this or home of that.
Right.
But if it's still on the hoof, so to speak, they become a little hard. It's harder, and so my hope is that somebody will take another film.
Sure.
And that's why the Bluff Creek area is a good place to go just to try that.
All right, MK, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about M.K.Davis and his work into the Patterson-Gimlin film, visit his blog site, thedavisreport.wordpress.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Now, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, do you believe in Bigfoot? Is the Patterson-Gimlin film real? Send me your email. Send me your comments. xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back on the other side of the commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.